How's it going, guys? We're back for another SBT match. This is in the C League where we have Ryan versus Gannon. They've already picked their leads here, but I'll go over the teams quickly. Gannon brought his Frostlass, Mega Mawa, Garchomp, Tornadus, Therian, Suicune, Necrozma, and Ryan brought his Tangrowth, Zeraora, Empoleon, Mega Latios, Landorus, Therian, and his Blacephalon. So, pretty typical leads here. Just so you guys know, I have um, the call open just in case anyone wants to join in and record with me. But if not, then we'll just be here together, you and I. So Ryan has his Landorus in here. Again, pretty typical lead if he wants to just set up rocks. This Tornadus could have like Icy Wind or like Z Icy Wind or something like that. Could also have Taunt just to make sure that this Landorus doesn't get up rocks. If this Landorus wants to go for a Z Stone Edge, that could be another thing. And again, it has to kind of be worried about that. He is experiencing a -1 drop right now. So if he wants to just U-turn out, both of these two could U-turn out. Obviously, they threaten each other without knowing that they probably threaten each other. But Tornadus probably needs coverage for other things. He has to be worried about Zeraora trying to come in as well. So also Empoleon could easily come in. So it's not like Ryan doesn't have a safe switch into it. Like if he's Scarfed, he can U-turn out. In comes the Garchomp, so we could be expecting we do see a Stone Edge, and it obviously Garchomp resisting that hit might not be doing too much damage. I'm not too sure on that damage. Garchomp might be more defensive, but it actually did a decent amount of damage, so he could be more offensive. Now, if this Chomp is Scarf himself, he will be able to outspeed this Landorus. The thing is that bringing in Chomp against Landorus might be just signaling the fact that he wants to either set up or just go for a big. Actually goes for an Iron Head, which is interesting. We see the Rocky Helmet on Tangrowth, so a very nice pivot for Ryan there. He knows that he can always switch out this Tangrowth into this Chomp, especially if Chomp wants to just set up. He won't be doing anything really. We see the seeds now. Obviously, Torn can just go for a U-turn here. If Ryan wants to stay in and let Gannon take some chip, he has to kind of be worried about a Hurricane, obviously, or a Z Hurricane. He could go for the Protect right now and try to scout. Once again, Ryan does have that Empoleon in the back if he wants to just go into that. We could be seeing a U-turn here. It's probably the safest play, honestly. Ryan's really only switching is that Empoleon / the Zeraora, so I don't think he really wants damage on Zeraora this early on in the match, especially when Suicune's still around. Now, Tangrowth can kind of handle Suicune. It's just, Suicune's more offensive or has something like Sub or Calm Mind, then it could be a little bit of an issue for Tangrowth to kind of take down, especially when Ryan used this Tangrowth to take on that Garchomp. Otherwise, it doesn't really have the best answer, but he does have the Landorus still. So in comes the Empoleon, and a very safe play from Gannon as well. Just go for the U-turn. It's an offensive play because he will get initiative to maybe go into the Garchomp, which he does. And of course, this play doesn't seem the most offensive because he might have to double, predicting the Landorus to come in. Even even if he wants to stay in, this Empoleon could have like a Shuckleberry. So we could see rocks from both of these players right now. It's a little bit tough to say whether or not Gannon wants to double here. If he wants to double, he does have a very safe switch into that Suicune. So the only issue is that Ryan would be able to get a free rocks. Now, if Ryan is just too afraid to keep this Empoleon in, he can just go into Landorus. Landorus is very free. Of course, the Tangrowth is even more free. But we do see the Shuckleberry coming out from Empoleon as he just gets up rocks. So a very nice play there. Ryan actually just getting up his rocks. And again, his only real means of removal is that Tornadus, which will be able to take 25% coming in. Torn has been freely switching in so far. So we could see him try to switch in a bit later, perhaps on that Tangrowth. Maybe Ryan doesn't want to freely bring in that Tangrowth, expecting the Tornadus to just come in on him. He does bring in the Tangrowth, so this actually does give Gannon a switch into the Tornadus if he wants to try to fog here. But we could see the seeds coming out from Tangrowth, and this could be a cycle that Ryan's willing to exchange, although he has burned his Shuckleberry already. So this Chomp, I'm not too sure if it's Scarf or not, but judging from the way that Gannon wants to run, and is kind of just playing obviously So in comes the Torn, like we expected, maybe to get a defog off. Very nice play on Ryan's end there. Expecting, um, maybe Torn to come in, of course, and he doesn't want to have to keep repeating this cycle without Torn taking any kind of damage, because of course Torn's just gonna defog and perhaps you turn out and gain that regenerator back. So, and Ryan, if he wants, he can go into the Empoleon. He knows that Gannon's taking a rocks damage now, so he really doesn't lose anything by doing this. So at some point, Ryan has to just bring in that Blacephalon, but with this Tornadus still very healthy, it's kind of hard to do so. If this Tornadus is not a Soul Fest, Blacephalon will be able to take on this Tornadus very easily. So we do see the reveal of the Z Focus Blast slash Z Superpower. I'm assuming it's more the Focus Blast special here, because of the fact that it did a lot of damage, and he's -1 attack from the Intimidate. So Ryan maybe was expecting that to come out, and he did make a nice play into the Landorus. Of course, Landorus did have to take a lot of damage there. Maybe not exactly what Ryan wanted, but he can go for a Stone Edge here. He knows that even if Chomp wants to come in, he's going to be taking rocks. A lot of things are going to be taking rocks. It's not going to be... Landorus does not do too much damage to this Suicune. So I think Ryan has to understand that, and maybe Gannon knows that as well. But he doesn't want this Landorus to potentially start setting up on him. So I think maybe Torn would want to go for a U-turn here. He actually he does swap out. He takes some rough skin damage there. So an interesting play on Ryan's end there. He decides to he decides maybe that he can live that Hurricane or slash Icy Wind, and then just U-turn and get initiative himself. So he might be able to bring in something like well, he kind of has to bring in the Tangrowth to be fair. Just because he knows that this Garchomp could potentially be Scarf, and if Ryan doesn't have his own Scarf, or I mean, Landorus could potentially be Scarf, but he can't really, he couldn't have brought him in there. So obviously he's going to take some Rocky Helmet Chip, and Ryan can just stay in here if he wants to. He knows that this Garchomp dies to a Rocky Helmet, or if he wants to come back in, he dies to Rocks. So Gannon could preserve this for death fodder. It's not going to be useful anymore, especially with it being Scarf and has to predict Landorus to come in every single time. So it would have been nice for Gannon to keep this around for the Zeraora slash the Blacephalon. Even the Empoleon, they don't really like him. It's just that the other half of Ryan's team kind of takes it on. So unfortunately, it's not going to be able to get in any in a position where he can actually start doing any damages, especially since we didn't see defog on Tornadus. Maybe he doesn't have it, or maybe he was expecting Ryan to kind of have defog. In comes a Mawile, so Gannon does save this for fodder, and we do see the EQ. So very nice play on Ryan's part, punishing any kind of switches that Ryan wants to do. Of course, the Torn could have come back in there, so an EQ wasn't the most optimal, but of course, Torn would have had Regenerator, and see the play rough, not doing too much damage there. This Tangrowth is most likely physically defensive, and he's just and Gannon's just letting his Mawile and his team just getting chipped down by this Tangrowth. Tangrowth being a very defensive check to all of Gannon's answers right now, not something that Gannon really needs, and we did see, like Ryan's putting out right here, that the Tangrowth actually outsped the Mawile. So Mawile most likely does not have any kind of speed investment, or that was a speed tie. But yeah, I guess Gannon really wanted to just put all the investment that he had into HP, something like that. So no speed investment, most likely max attack. Just if I had to guess, I don't think this Tangrowth has Protect at this point. So in comes the Chomp just to sack it off. I guess that makes sense. But in comes the Empoleon to perhaps take that play rough as he probably would. And Tangrowth obviously being back close to full at this point. So Gannon not looking too good here. He doesn't have Rocks up. He doesn't have Initiative. He has Initiative right here. And he can try going for a Focus Blast if he wants to with that Tornadus. Might be the best answer he has. Mawile at this point is just death fodder unless he still has the sucker punch. But Tornadus kind of has to come back in here now. Has to kind of go for that superpower if he wants to. He's already burned his Z move. We know that Ryan could potentially just go back into that Tangrowth if he wants to. He could even go into the Blacephalon, but that is very risky if this Tornadus wants to go for a knockoff right now. We've only seen, so Ryan has tried to scout out this Tornadus since the beginning of this match. Obviously, with it being coming in with every free switch that he gets, taking chip is very nice, but of course with the regenerator, Tornadus is just able to freely come in whenever he wants to. Landers comes in now. We do see a Hurricane, so very nice play on Gannon's part. He might have just predicted the swap there. He could have also predicted that Empoleon would just want to stay in, and Hurricane would have been a 2-hit KO anyways. But Ryan now gets a free switch into his Zeraora, which is most likely what he wanted in the first place. And this is a very peculiar situation for Gannon now, because he either has to sack this or potentially swap out into his Mawile, sack that off, or maybe take a lot of damage with Necrozma coming in. Gannon doesn't really have the best switching right now for this thing, and if this thing wants to actually just if Ryan wants to bluff and maybe set up or has a Z move or actually wants to volt switch out, then it's going to be a very good situation for Ryan. He has Gannon where he wants him at this point, and I think with Gannon having to pivot out every so often, the Tornadus is not going to get another chance to really do much damage. To be fair though, whenever that Empoleon or Tangrowth come in, the Tornadus does get free reign to kind of do what he wants, but it does look like Gannon wants to sack off the Mawile at this point. We do see the Calm Mind, very interesting. Very interesting for sure, because now Gannon gets a Sucker Punch off if he has it. Not going to be doing all that much damage, but Sucker Punch with Chip is still damage on Zeraora, and that damage is probably greatly appreciated to see. It does about half, which again is very appreciated for Gannon. Any damage on this is very appreciated. So in comes a Frostlass. Now, not too positive if that means that he's confident in living this hit right here, or if he has something like a Scarf Destiny Bond, that could get rid of the Zeraora very freely. But this Zeraora is special, so not sure if that means he's going to be able to take on this Frostlass. I don't know exactly what coverage on the special side he could have to kind of take on this Frostlass here. Like a Thunderbolt at +1 might be doing enough, but I'm not too positive on that. Interesting that I brought the special variant, because so it is actually scarfed, and we do see the Gigavolt Havoc obviously going to take out that Frostlass, no problem. And that was his Scarfer. So now so Ryan has to decide here if he wants some damage on this Necrozma, or if he wants to preserve this Zeraora so that he can take out the Tornadus and Suicune later on. Interesting. If Suicune was something like Calm Mind himself, or just very specially defensive with a Assault Vest, Zeraora would not be able to be doing that much damage, I'm assuming. So he actually just opts to go for the Thunderbolt on this Necrozma, losing the Zeraora. I'm not too sure if that means anything, because obviously Latias can come in here now and start doing some damage. Now we do see the substitute here, and we do see the T-Wave obviously, and Gannon's probably regretting that play now, because now he has to start facing this this Calm Mind Latias, which of course has done so much work in the past. Autotomized, Thunder Wave, Moonlight, so his only attacking move is the Photon Geyser. Unfortunately, that's not going to be doing anything to Latias, especially if he's physically defensive, and now that he's at +3, this is pretty much game at this point. If Latias here is something like Store Power, or just has Shadow Ball, even that's not going to be making the sub. So I'm pretty sure at this point it's pretty much game. Gannon does want to break this sub so that Tornadus can perhaps get off a hit, but at this point in the match, if that Blacephalon is scarfed, it's going to be a tough, it's going to be a long road. I think this Latias might just have to be mono attacking, if not have coverage like Thunderbolt and Ice Beam and stuff. But we could see the Psychic if he has it. The Shadow Ball might be coming here again. Necrozma's ability, reducing the damage from super effective hits, might discourage Ryan from having something like Shadow Ball, but we could see it. We could see it for sure. Larios has to kind of have something to hit them all while, but if he was assuming that he could potentially, there's a crit, so at that point it is able to break the sub. And Ryan, very smart play there, just going for another one to actually just leave himself protected so that Tornadus can't get any initiative at this point. And yeah, let's see if this game right here. I don't know if Ryan wants to continuously set up right now. He does go for the stored power. That is just going to one-shot. No questions asked. I'm not too sure if that was defensive Necrozma, but at this point in the match, stored power is going to take out Tornadus after he breaks a sub, and then I'm pretty sure Suicune, he might live the hit after rocks, but he's not going to be able to revenge after this. So a lot to see here. There's no question right here. He breaks the sub. Very nice play though. He goes for the U-turn, so maybe he can actually just still have a chance after coming back in. So he's not behind a sub now. I don't think this U-turn is going to be able to KO, but maybe Tornadus is banking on a crit or something here. Gannon has to get really lucky here because Larios can just go for stored power here and then KO the Tornadus. There's the U-turn only doing about 29%. We do see a crit. Unfortunately, that didn't matter at all. But that's going to be the game, guys. Mega Larios, of course, being very vicious after Gannon losing a lot of his checks. Mega Larios just didn't have any more answers. And Ryan's cleaning up the game 4-0 against Gannon. So very good match to both of these players. And that's going to be the game, guys.